Okay, good. Hey everyone, I'm Joel, State Referee Administrator for the state of Arizona, and welcome back to, well, not even welcome back, but welcome to our first edition of Meet Your Assigner. Every month we're sitting down with one of our incredible assigners to hear what it's like on their side of the whistle. They're folks that make the magic happen behind the scenes, getting games covered, helping referees grow, and somehow surviving the weekend chaos. Today's guest is Michelle Golowash, and I can't wait for you to meet her. So here we are. Michelle, welcome. Thanks so much for being here this afternoon. I really appreciate it.
You bet. Happy to be here.
Thanks. Hey, so we've got a couple questions that we want to go through. The first one is, Michelle, how did you first get involved in assigning and what keeps you even doing it?
That's a good question. Soccer has always just been my life. Like since I was 5 years old, I started playing. My team throughout high school was my entire life. You know, I worked at an indoor facility. I worked camps all summer long. That's all there was to my life was soccer. When I was going into college, I had a scholarship to play at Seattle University, and my sister died tragically, and so I ended up kind of going off the rails. I dropped out of business school and went to art school, studied photography of all things. Yeah. And then fast forward, 20 years, moved to Arizona. My husband is Brazilian and we are huge soccer fans. We went to two World Cups. I went to live in Brazil for a year and followed the Brazilian national team, went to all of their qualifying games for the 93 World Cup. Was in Maracanã Stadium for their last qualifying game when they brought Romario back and he scored 2 goals. And I thought that stadium was going to come down on top of us. Like, I've never seen concrete move so much, like 100,000 Brazilians. That would have been the first time that Brazil hadn't qualified for the World Cup. So it was just this huge event.
And so that's kind of what ignited your soccer bug, right? Is that what it sounds like?
Yeah, soccer's just always been, we have a sign above our television that says it's all about soccer. And in our house it is. It's just soccer is 24/7.
Well, then how did you get from just loving the game and all of that life experience to wanting to be an assigner?
It's funny because we had a couple kids. We moved to Arizona. I started working for Sereno Soccer, was coaching, and then went into like program directing with them. My husband ended up quitting playing and became a referee. And I never thought of the referee side of the game before that. And we lost our in-house assigner at Sereno. And
How long ago was this now?
That was probably like 2010.
Okay.
We lost our in-house assigner, so they asked me to take that on, and so I just started assigning our in-house games, our open league games, like very, very minimal. Then was asked to do the tournaments at Sereno. I did the 2 tournaments, and then got licensed myself and was just amazed at how much I learned about the game as a referee that I never knew I didn't know. Like I'd been through USSF coaching licenses, traveled around the world playing and watching the game, just loving the game. And I was shocked at how much I learned as a referee that I didn't know. I had the opportunity to go to Arizona State Soccer Association. One of my responsibilities was assigning advanced leagues. And so I took on the role of assigning advanced leagues at the state. Ended up leaving or being let go at the state during COVID. Had the opportunity to go to AAG, where I was the director of officials, learned a ton about other sports and their certification processes and working with their assigners and directors. And it was a really interesting experience. From there, I started assigning on kind of a full-time basis from 2020 on.
Wow. Okay. So full-time assigning for the last 5 or 6 years now then.
Yeah.
And then part-time before that for about 10 years before that, you said?
Yeah. Yeah. And constantly learning, constantly growing. It's a learning process constantly.
And what leagues, tournaments? I mean, you don't need to list them all because we know there's a lot. Michelle is one of our most prolific assigners here in the state. So if you haven't already worked with her, I know you will soon in the future. But what are some of the top things that you work on, Michelle?
I do Probably 25 different tournaments or events during the year. It's almost during the season between August and May. It's kind of a weekly process. It's every week is a turnover of an event. I do 5 different leagues. I do Open League, Advanced Leagues, two different adult leagues, the Swassel Men's League in Scottsdale and the Women's League in Tempe, and then a few of the letter leagues.
Okay. And what are the letter leagues for maybe those parents of the kids that might be reffing out there that don't know what those are?
Yeah.
What are the letter
Letter
leagues?
leagues is what we consider all of they call them the alphabet soup leagues, the MLS Next, the ECNL, the NPLs, DPLs. There's, any of them that have those acronyms in front of them, we call the letter leagues, which are supposed to be a higher tier of
That makes sense.
Yeah.
So, question number 2 then for you. What's one thing most referees don't realize about the assigning process? What's one thing that you can share with the referees or their parents that they might not know about how the assigning process works?
That it's really difficult. Like, they think you're just, referees on games, but it's just you're getting schedules from every event that you're doing, and sometimes you don't get the schedule until 2 or 3 days before the event. You have people coming to you saying, "Oh, I forgot I have these games," and you're adding games to the schedule. You're gathering all the availability of the referees. You're assigning, and then you're reassigning, and then you're reassigning again as people reject and confirm their games. It's a constant process of assigning and assigning until you're after the event or during the event. You're on call constantly for missing referees, tracking down missing referees, dealing with schedule changes, dealing with red cards or lost game cards, or and then after the event you're making sure everyone's been paid properly. You're dealing with issues that happen during the event. You're calling back coaches who are upset, or so it's constant, and it's a weekly cycle.
Oh, that sounds exhausting, to be honest. That really does. Question number 3 for you, Michelle. What do you look for when you assign referees to matches?
I assign mostly off my Google Docs, so if you're working with me, please fill out the Google Doc, and please do it as soon as you know your availability, because that's going to assure you the best chances of getting games.
Let me explain that really fast. So what she's talking about, a Google Doc, is that most of the assigners in the state will actually send out an availability form, which is inside a Google Doc, which really is you saying, hey, here are the dates and times I want to work or I'm available to work. So without that form, we don't really know if you're available or not, I think is what Michelle and other assigners do.
From there, I look for their age and experience levels. I look for their reliability, if I've worked with them in the past, if I know that there's someone who flakes on me a lot, or, if I can depend on them. I do a lot of mid-level assigning and very large volume events, like tournaments, big play dates. So
like how many games and assignments would a big tournament have so that people can get an understanding of how much that is?
It can be anywhere from 400 to 500 games a weekend to the larger events are close to 1,000.
So say 1,000 times 3, if we want 3 officials, you've got 3,000 assignments at a minimum that need to be made.
Yeah. So, yeah, and you may have other smaller events on top of that big event of that weekend. So I really shoot for balance in my assigning. And so I try to have an experienced referee with newer referees. Because I do the mid-level assignments, I work with the entire spectrum of the referees. I don't work just with top referees or brand new referees. It's the entire spectrum of the 2,500 referees we have in Arizona. And so I try to balance each game, because there's so many games. You can't have perfect assignments on every game, so I try to balance the games so that there's adequate coverage for every game.
Okay, that's great. Thank you. Question number 4. What's your favorite part of the job, and what's the toughest part of your job?
My favorite part of the job is I love soccer, and so I'm blessed to be able to do something I love so much for a living. It's truly a blessing to be able to work in the soccer community. I try to be an advocate for my referees. I do my best to improve the landscape of referees in Arizona. I do this by just improving my own processes, being better at my job so that referees have more access to the games. They know what's available. I've created a website where they can go to see my upcoming events, where all my availability forms are. When I was at the state association, I was the one who implemented the seating policy for Open League and the tournaments, where there's no spectators sitting behind the referees. And I think this is huge for our lower level games, for these younger referees to not have that pressure of people right behind them screaming at them. And so I try to be an advocate for the refs and do my best to grow the referee pool and to support them.
Okay, great. And what's the toughest part of the job?
The toughest part of the job is just the constant pressure of, every week. The weekly pressure is getting your games covered weekly. There could be anywhere from 2 to 600 games, 800,000 games, trying to get them all covered, making sure that everything is in the system, because we don't assign in the same system that they're scheduled in. And so if a game change has happened, and the or event that we're working with hasn't told us of the change, so making sure everything's in the system, that we haven't missed anything.
That's important to know, that the people that might be listening to this, that we use the Assignor.com system for the most part in the state.
Yes.
But what Michelle's saying is that an event or a tournament or a league doesn't use that system to schedule their games. And so sometimes when there's a crosstalk there are games missed in the assigning platform, which is obviously going to pose huge problems for you.
Yeah. Unfortunately, there's no interface between the most things are scheduled in GotSport, and so we download those schedules and then upload them into Assignor. And if an event makes a schedule change, last minute, if they don't tell us, then we have referees out of field that there's no game, or a game with no referees. So, just always worrying about whether have everything covered is, so it's just constant pressure. And then there's the yearly pressure of, there's a 40 to 45% attrition rate of referees. So you're constantly having to recruit, certify, train, get them up and running, in the system. And so, there's a yearly, and then you have your established referees who you have to get, you have those January events like ODP, which is right at the first of the year. So you have to make sure everyone's been recertified so that they can start working those events in January and February.
Right.
Yeah. There's a 40 to 45% attrition rate. I mean, that is huge. Like what I tell coaches if they call and complain. I said, imagine if you had to replace 40 to 45% of your team every year with a new player on your team. And not just a player that's new to your team, but a player that's never kicked a ball before. Because that's what we're doing with the referee team, is we're replacing 40 to 45% of the team every year with someone who's never blown a whistle, who's never raised a flag before. Like how effective is your team going to be if you're replacing 45% with brand new every year?
It's a huge struggle.
Yeah.
Well, final question, then we'll get to a bonus question. Michelle, if you could give one piece of advice to every referee that you assign, what would it be?
I would say be patient. It takes many, 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 many years or games to become proficient at refereeing. And you're expected, you get that badge and you're expected to step onto that field and be perfect. And it's not going to happen. Just like no coach is going to have a perfect game, or no player is going to have a perfect game. They're not going to have perfect touches, perfect decision making. A referee isn't. And we have to give ourselves grace, give yourselves grace and your teammates grace to grow and learn in the position. Stay open-minded. Know that you're going to make mistakes and it's okay, but stick with it. Don't give up just because, some jerk coach yelled at you, don't let them win, stay with it. You'll be glad you did in 10, 15 years when you're, a top level referee.
Stick with it.
Yeah.
Okay, let's wrap this up. One quick question for you. Michelle, what's one thing you wish referees did more often before game day?
Confirm your games. Or if you're not going to do them, reject them. it's okay to reject games. Like the assigner just needs to know if you're going to do it or not. So if you're not
Let me
going to,
interrupt there. If you're going to reject a game, should you reject it just sometime before your game, or is there a time frame that's best for you?
just as soon as you know you can't do the game, the sooner you know you can't do the game, the sooner I can start working on replacing you. Like if you sit on a game so many times that it'll show unconfirmed, and we sit there and we think, we have to follow up with them. Hey, confirm your game, And if you would just reject the game when you know you can't do it, and we'll move on to the next referee, because there are a lot of refs out there. Just so confirm or reject the game as soon as possible. Another is read the instructions. Like I send out very detailed instructions on every event that I do, and it's going to tell you where you need to check in. It's going to tell you how many minutes they play per half, because every event is different. It's going to tell you the substitution rules. It's going to tell you how you get paid. Because I have referees, like it'll be cash at the field, and I'll have referees that will reach out to me a week later and say, hey, I didn't get paid. I haven't gotten, my assigner, I haven't been paid. And it's like, well, you should have read your instructions. You're supposed to collect it at the field. So read the instructions. They have important details on what is needed out there.
Okay, so to reiterate, those two things would be, if you're going to decline a game, do so early. Don't decline a game, first of all. That's my advice. If you get a game, do it. But if you have to decline it for whatever reason, do it early so that the assigners can fill it in and it's not last minute scrambling. That's not fair to the next person that has to come in and do the game. And then read the instructions. It really does take 3 or 4 minutes, but read your instructions and you'll be better for it and the games will go more smooth. So good. Yeah. Okay. Well, I think we'll end there, Michelle. Let's say a big thanks then to Michelle for joining us and giving us a peek behind the curtain. If you've ever wondered what it takes to cover hundreds or thousands of matches every weekend, now you know it's part math, part magic, and a whole lot of dedication. Yeah. So don't forget to join us next month as we meet another one of Arizona's amazing assigners. Michelle, thank you so much. Really appreciate your time.
You bet. Thanks a lot.
Have a good afternoon.
You too. Thanks.